Salutations everyone, this is Razor giving you guys another beta Overwatch 2 game here playing some damage. We are Pharah up in the sky, and we even got a pocket Mercy for a decent amount of the game as well, which is not something I am used to having and when I play Pharah. Pharah is definitely like probably my second most played DPS character throughout Overwatch, with Tracer being number one. Most of that game time is in the first 2-3 seasons. Back when, you know, there was a lot more flexibility with, but anyway, you guys know I don't play damage, outside of Mystery Heroes very much, but, I know how to play some Pharah. There's only one DPS character I can confidently say I really don't know how to play this character very well, and that's Genji. And with Genji being so good in Overwatch 2, it kind of helps. I played one game of Genji so far, and I went like 24-7 on the New York map. You know, not the best map for him, and I definitely didn't play him super well, but I was able to get some pretty decent value. So yeah, Genji's kind of god. But I think one of the DPS characters people have kind of always slept on, especially, you know, in the top 96%, Pharah's very few times to shine, right? But I feel like, especially with Pharmercy, Pharah has been really strong from the beginning to even now. I feel like pocketed Pharah is always going to be good, and I feel like the same with Overwatch 2. And the roles, how we engage a team fight and knowing what we're supposed to do hasn't changed a lot with tank and healer, but it feels a little bit different for DPS in general. So for your tank players, even with your traditional off tanks like Zarya and D.Va, where you aren't used to being the main focus, and now you are because there is only one tank, you're still doing the same role for the most part. You're still kind of facilitating the battle to create space and be the head of the spear, so to speak. So even if you aren't a big shield character, and it's hilarious that they tried to kill me with the Widowmaker, Pharah wins that matchup. I don't care what you've seen or what you think you know about this game. Below Masters, Pharah beats Widowmaker 9 times out of 10, and it's not going to work out for you. There are much better answers. Yes, in the Overwatch League or in the perfect world, Widowmaker's a really great answer against Pharah. But sorry, not here, not happening. You're much better off going with Ashe, Soldier, McCree. I mean, obviously D.Va was the best at dealing with Pharah in Overwatch 1, but now that she's the main tank, she kind of doesn't have as much freedom to do that as often as she would like, especially if she's pocketed by Mercy. And with Mercy being so much stronger, I feel like Mercy's super duper being slept on here in Overwatch 2, because she's just as good as what she used to do, but now she's kind of even better, especially with the strength that damage has right now, that her pocketing ability, I feel like, gets a lot more value because of the fact that it is only 5v5, so getting 1 or 2 picks is a lot more valuable than it was in Overwatch 1. So if you can damage boost a DPS and get those early kills, it's going to be a lot more valuable than it was in Overwatch 2, especially with there being only one tank. So let's say in Overwatch 1, you killed, you know, 2 damage characters, or a damage and a support. They still had 2 tanks, you know, maybe they get a res off, or the remaining DPS gets 1 or 2 picks that kind of evens things out. You're not going to get a lot of value out of those 2 kills, where in Overwatch 2, you either, you know, wiped out their entire healing or a lot of their damage, and depending on what healer's left, they might be easily either diveable, or their tank is going to be a lot more vulnerable than your tank. So the value of a Mercy pocket, I feel, is stronger in Overwatch 2, and it was always strong in Overwatch 1, I feel like, especially with Pharah. So I mentioned the tank role kind of still feels the same, even with tanks that weren't used to playing that main role. And healers, yes, they're more vulnerable, but we're still kind of doing the same things. We're taking a little bit more aggressive angles and going for more duels, and in some cases trying to be a little bit more safe because we are more vulnerable. But when it comes to the damage characters, we it isn't as obvious in Overwatch 2 what we should do. It is a lot more dependent on what DPS character you are now. Because before, sometimes it was really, really easy. If you're Sombra or Tracer, you aren't going to be shooting shields. But if you were a damage character, it was kind of like an always safe thing. It's like, all right, everybody, we're all going to focus on the main tank, and then yada, yada, yada. Maybe you had somebody that was trying to go after a backline, and backlines being so much more vulnerable in Overwatch 2, that is a more powerful strat to go for. But let's say they aren't a diveable backline. Let's say they have the Brig babysitting the other one, or they're Moira Lucio, right? Going up against them might not be the easiest thing for everyone else to do. But when it comes to Pharah, I feel like she can help focus the main tank with a lot of explosive big damage. D.Va can't focus as much of her time on Pharah since she is now the only tank. And your stationary tanks are just as vulnerable to Pharah as they used to be. Granted, they have a lot more health and stuff right now. So they aren't, as vulnerable to just a solo Pharah. But Pharah can definitely help initiate that attack, or, after your tank hits their cooldowns on their tank, or they get antied or something like that, or their healers get knocked out, your ability as Pharah to dump a bunch of damage into an enemy tank is very, very good. She can dive on those backlines very well, and she can contest DPS as well. So she's a little more flexible than I think a lot of the other DPSs in that matter. She's a bit more consistent than some of your other picks that may focus on backline killing or going up against an enemy tank, saying like your Bastions or your Junkrats, where they can absolutely make the enemy tank's life hell in the right situation, but they might not be super consistent based off of the map or the enemy comp, or what your main tank is. Pharah is a little bit more consistent when it comes to that. Obviously, I do have a Mercy Pocket through a lot of this game, and that makes things a little bit more easy, sure. But DPS, I feel like, have a lot more reign to kind of do what it is they want. And yeah, that might have not been the smartest ult in the world because of Orisa's Javelin Spin. But it all worked out. It burnt her cooldown. It started off, it took a good chunk of damage beforehand, and we were able to secure that point and the play of the game. Although I don't think that ult even makes it into the play. But Pharah is really good at diving the backline. She's good at dueling with the enemy DPS, even if they are hit scan, just because of the way the team fights are a lot more spread out, right? They're a lot more dually. She's not going to be, I think, meta-defining or insanely good. But especially with the Mercy Pocket, I feel like she's always going to be useful. She's always going to be good. She still is one of the few DPS characters that has CC. And people are ignoring DPS just as much, if not more so now than they were in Overwatch 1. And so I think flyer characters are stronger than they were before, just because we lost a tank to Peel, and Pharah can deal a lot more damage and is a bit more consistent than I think Echo, or at least easier to be consistent with. And she's still a ton of fun to play. So I feel like people are sleeping on Pharah a bit, because I've always found insane value with her so far in the beta.